revisiting 10 affordable fragrances that I have previously reviewed on my channel. Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. It's time for your daily dose of some fragrance content, and for today I've prepared a video where I'm going to revisit 10 affordable fragrances that I have previously reviewed on my channel. And I'm going to give you my updated thoughts on all 10 of them. Now, I like to do this from time to time just so I follow up the progress of each and every affordable fragrance that I have added in my collection over time. And I'm going to start with two fragrances from the same brand, and that brand is Arabica Prestige. And in fact, both fragrances are from the same line, which is called Hypnotic. And the first one is called Hypnotic Amber. Comes in this very interesting and unique looking bottle. And this fragrance is a bit of a strange one. It was strange when I first got it, and to this day it remains, quite a strange scent. Now, it's not a direct clone of anything, although it carries quite a bit of similarities to two very famous niche fragrances. The first one is Creed Aventus, the other one is Nishane Hashvat. Now, it stands somewhere in between those two fragrances, but at the same time it does its own thing. It doesn't feel as sweet and as smoky as you get with Creed Aventus or also Nishane Hashvat. This feels greener, this feels fresher, and quite different to both of them, but at the same time definitely carries a bit of the spirit of both Nishane Hashvat and Creed Aventus. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of this fragrance, the scent of it again just lacks a bit of the sweetness that I like in this type of fragrances. This just feels too green, just feels too fresh and spicy to my nose, but I cannot deny the fact that it has fantastic quality, pretty much just like any other Arabica Prestige fragrance. It has a very strong performance, lasts for a long time, projects nicely, comes very luxuriously packaged to get a pressurized sprayer, and all around this is a very interesting scent. But again, my updated thoughts on this one is that I'm still not a huge fan of the scent of Hypnotic Amber. Now, the second fragrance from this very same line and very same brand is called Hypnotic Oud, and this is the total opposite to Hypnotic Amber. Hypnotic Amber, I wasn't a huge fan from the beginning of it, and Hypnotic Oud is, again, totally the opposite. I'm a huge fan of this fragrance. This one is a straight up clone of Maison Margiela's By the Fireplace. And it smells absolutely fantastic. Very similar to the original fragrance. Maybe feels a little bit sweeter compared to By the Fireplace, but other than that carries that very oriental scent profile that relies on a lot of sweetness, relies on a lot of incense, and also relies on a lot of ouds. You get some ouds, you get a bit of an agar oud note. All around this smells absolutely fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of the original fragrance and all good clones of By the Fireplace. It's a great scent that has fantastic quality, and it's always had very beastly longevity. From day one, this was pretty much a beast when it comes to total longevity. But one thing I noticed that after a few months that has changed. Initially, this wasn't a very strong scent when it comes to projection. It lasted for a very long time, but it was more of an moderate projection scent. But nowadays, a few months later, the projection has also improved, and I can safely call Hypnotic Oud pretty much a beastly performing scent in every aspect nowadays. And again, my updates on this fragrance is that I still love it, and it also improved its performance. The next two scents that I'm going to quickly revisit will be again from the one very same brand, and that brand is called Fomo. And the first one is called Illusiuon Soir, and this one is a fragrance that's heavily inspired by MFK's Grand Soir. Now, it doesn't feel like an exact clone. This feels a little bit different. This has a bit of a fruity sweetness compared to the original scent, which makes it slightly different. But at the same time, if you are familiar with the way that a Grand Soir smells, you'll definitely pick up what Illusiuon Soir has been inspired by. It's done very nicely. It's a very strong fragrance that's very sweet, has a bit of a boozy vibe in it, has a bit of fruity sweetness, but you also get quite a bit of vanillic and ambery sweetness, just like the original fragrance. A very beastly scent, lasts for a very long time, and also projects very very strong. And to be honest, I can't say that I've noticed a big change in this one, because it was good from day one, both when it comes to the scent and when it comes to the actual performance. And to this day this remains pretty much a great clone with a twist of MFK's Grand Soir with beastly performance. So the next fragrance featured today is Illusiuon d'un Soir from Fomo. And the second fragrance from that very same brand is called Gary's Den Le Parfum. This one is again a clone with a twist of my all-time most favorite men's fragrance, which is Dior Homme Parfum. And this smells quite similar to Dior Homme Parfum, but at the same time again has some differences. This doesn't feel as powdery as Dior Homme Parfum. It also feels like having a different type of a leather note in it. Maybe feels a little bit sweeter, maybe lacks a bit of the rose that you get out of Dior Homme Parfum, but in the end this actually smells pretty close to Dior Parfum. And to be honest, I'm not aware of that many clones of Dior Homme Parfum, so Gary's Den is one of the very few choices that you have if you're looking for a clone of DHP from Dior. Another beastly performing scent, lasts for a very long time, almost as beastly as the original, not exactly, but still getting pretty close performance-wise to the original fragrance. Also tends to project quite strongly. And again, it's a nice alternative to Dior Homme Parfum, which can be very hard to find in some places around the world and can be very expensive. So if you're looking for a very good, very nicely done clone of Dior Homme Parfum with a twist, definitely check out Gary's Den. I like this one, since day one when I got it, and I'm still liking it today. The next one that I'm going to talk about will be from the brand of Zimaya, and it's called Ghyom. Now this fragrance is again another clone with a twist, although in here I actually feel like there are two different fragrances, original fragrances that have been mixed up to come up with the end result called Ghyom. On one hand you have Dolce & Gabbana K, and then on the other hand you have Orto Parisi Mega Mare. So it feels sweet, it feels kind of fruity, but also carries quite a strong marine, aquatic, feel to it, smell to it. Maybe feels a bit salty. The opening feels a little bit bubble gummy. In fact, that's one of the things that I've noticed with maceration and time. That time has passed. How this has developed. It has developed a bit of a bubble gummy sweet opening that it didn't have initially. It's a very interesting scent. Now, I'm not a huge fan neither of the K fragrance from Dolce & Gabbana, neither Mega Mare from Orto Parisi, but I can definitely see why a lot of people actually like this fragrance, because it's quite versatile, it's sweet, and it's easy to wear for a lot of people. Also offers very, very decent performance and all that for a very affordable price. So my opinion has not changed about the fact that I don't like this one that much, but also I still see why a lot of people actually like Ghyom from Zimaya. The next one comes from the brand of Paris Corner, and it's called Noir d'Arabie. Now this is a clone of Montal's Arabian Stonka. Has a pretty weak sprayer, as you can see. But apart from that, this actually surprisingly, gets surprisingly close to the original fragrance, considering how cheap this one is. Now, the original is not an ultra expensive niche fragrance. Montal and Montal fragrances tend to be quite affordable compared to most other niche fragrances. But Noir d'Arabie actually costs a fraction of the original. You get that very oriental scent that relies on a lot of spices, on a lot of sweetness with some rose. And again, Noir d'Arabie actually gets surprisingly close to the original scent. Lacks a bit of the sweetness and of course lacks the performance of Arabian Stonka, which tends to be quite a beastly performing scent, but Noir d'Arabie actually is no slouch either. Over time this has developed nicely and has improved its performance. Nowadays I can probably squeeze out 7.5 to 8 hours of performance out of it, which is again pretty decent considering how cheap of a fragrance is. And to this day I think this remains one of the cheapest options if you want to get something to daily drive. If you already have the original fragrance, you want something cheap to daily drive instead of using the more expensive juice of the original, or if you want to try the original scent but for probably the least amount of money, then Noir d'Arabie is actually a good choice. The next fragrance comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and it's called Hercules. And this fragrance is a clone, of course, of Parfum de Marly's Herod. And again, this is one of the best fragrances from the brand of Maison Alhambra. Smells very similar to Hero 10. Over time this actually has become even better than it initially was, and that's again surprisingly good considering the fact that this is very inexpensive. It has that very same, you know, sweet tobacco based scent profile that has some spices, has some ouds, maybe a hint of incense, almost has a sort of an fruity vibe to it, of course, as well, like a cherry vibe to it. Smells really nice. I'm a huge fan of the original fragrance, and Maison Alhambra have done a great job with Hercules. Now, to this day, this remains a great scent. Unfortunately, you know, right from day one, this wasn't a huge performer for me. Total longevity on skin is not bad, somewhere around about the 7-hour mark, but what this lacks is the projection. And I was hoping that with some maceration, the projection will actually improve, but unfortunately, it still is more of a moderate projecting scent. But again, this is so inexpensive that you can actually, and so good at the same time, that you can actually overspray without feeling too guilty. And I'm going to finish off this video with a few scents from the brand of fragrance world. The first one is called Genuine Men Giovanni Reserve, and this is actually, I've had this for not that long time, to be honest, a few months, but I just wanted to revisit it today, just so I can talk a little bit more about this scent. Now, this is a clone of Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privé, and it's one of those cases where the clone house, you know, this time around Fragrance World, have done an absolutely fantastic job copying the original scent, especially in the opening of the fragrance itself. Carries almost identical scent to the original fragrance, having this warm, sweet scent that has quite a bit of iris powderness, has some warmth, you get some chestnut, you get maybe a hint of tobacco, you know, quite a bit of vanillic and ambery sweetness. It's done really nicely, and in the air this smells pretty much identical, especially in the first, you know, in the opening of the fragrance itself. All around, the scent itself is super close to the original fragrance. One thing that I didn't like about this fragrance when I reviewed it initially was the performance. And again, we're talking about longevity and also projection. And I was hoping that with time this actually will improve, you know, performance-wise. But unfortunately, this still remains, performance-wise, this remains more on the average side. I still get the very same 6 to 7 hours of performance with moderate projection for the first about 1 hour. Now again, to be honest, the original scent is also not a huge performer, but I was hoping that the Genuine Men Giovanni Reserve will actually become slightly better performer after some time, but unfortunately this didn't happen. But again, just like with Hercules from Maison Alhambra, this is so cheap and at the same time so good that you can overspray without feeling guilty. And again, I still think that this fragrance is worth checking out. Genuine Men Giovanni Reserve from Fragrance World. The next scent from the brand of Fragrance World that I'm going to revisit is called Bavaria Man Intense, and this one of course is a clone of Bulgari's Men in Black. And I really like the original scent, and you know, Bavaria Man Intense actually gets surprisingly close to the original scent. Not super close, but surprisingly close. The opening feels a little bit more airy and fresher, maybe slightly more spicy, lacks a bit of the warmth and the depth, but on the dry down this actually evolves to something that smells very similar to you know, Bulgari's Men in Black. With time this has become better and better. Again, still the opening is a little bit off, but on the dry down this will get you surprisingly close. Performance wise, not a huge performer, again slightly above average, but again, just like the previous few that I showed you, this is so good and at the same time so inexpensive. Then if you like the original fragrance, you can pretty much overspray this one without feeling guilty, and I still think this is worth checking out. And the last fragrance that I'm going to revisit in today's video comes from Fragrance World, but it's sold under the Athoor Al-Alam sub-brand, and it's called Anaqeed. And this fragrance is a very inexpensive clone of Parfum de Marly's Latent Exclusive. And smells really nice. Again, surprisingly good considering how surprisingly cheap this fragrance is. Carries that very similar scent to the original fragrance, the backbone of the OG Latent, but you know, with a darker twist, getting you know, more spices, getting more ouds, getting an agar oud note, which makes the whole scent profile a little bit more niche. Initially, when I first got this fragrance, it was a little bit rough around the edges, which was to be expected at this price point, but with some maceration, this actually has turned into a even better fragrance than it was initially. Now it feels a lot smoother compared to when I first got it some months ago. Also, the performance has improved a little bit. Still, this is not a huge performer, nowhere near as good as the original scent, but it's definitely above average. Definitely with time this has improved the performance, but also the scent has become better, closer to the original fragrance, and nowadays feels a lot smoother. And so guys, in today's video I revisited 10 affordable fragrances that I have previously reviewed on my channel, and I gave you my updated thoughts on all 10 of them. I hope that you found this video interesting to watch. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me tomorrow for your daily dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.